I think that's the big differentiating factor.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So I think one of the first few things is, the entire experience of pregnancy. We didn't want people who are, going through the journey of life to actually be sharing space with someone who's, wailing over a lost one, who's, with eye patch, who's coughing their way out, all of that. This is what you get in a hospital, no matter how good a hospital that is. You will have multiple disciplines of, people recovering. Pregnancy is not an illness. That's the whole thing that we started with. So as recent as last month, when we looked at our data, about 78% of the people who come to us have never been to a hospital before. And we, for one, did not want to change that fact at all. So when you come, you're in a very good place. It's a very happy environment. There are children running around. There's just pregnant women all around. You can just go and speak to any one of them. And, you just know you're in a very happy place. So from the first time that you realize that you're actually on the family way, you can come to us. And that's where the engagement starts, and it's a very different feeling, and hence we actually created a separate infrastructure for this. So yeah,
there are about 1 million hotel rooms in the country. It's about a $20 billion worth market. So that's how we arrived at this opportunity. And indeed, neither of us were hoteliers. What we had, of course, was huge amount of experience of staying at hotels as consultants and as avid travelers. Before we used to spend practically 100 room nights a year staying at hotels. So we did have some consumer insights, and that obviously helped along the way. Today it's fascinating. We're just about 18 months old as a company, and already we are the third largest hotel chain in the country after Taj and ITC. We've got 200 hotels spread over about 40 cities and about 5,200 keys as part of our group. And so it's been very fascinating. I think the one thing that we did learn when we were at Myntra, and this was coming directly from having worked closely with Mukesh Bansal over there, was that if you really have the ability to think about a problem afresh with first principles and look for the opportunities to radically reimagine how that product, how that service operates, then you should not worry about not having domain experience. And that's exactly what we did. We are truly reimagining how hotels operate and what kind of experience you can get at a price point of 2,000 rupees. And that's exciting.
Tell us more about the experience that you're delivering, from your guest experience as such, and who are you after? Who's your typical sort of...
See, we are after what we call a smart traveler, very simply put. In fact, we're not necessarily a bottom of the pyramid offering or anything like that. We're after anyone who believes that a good, comfortable night's sleep and a good comfortable stay at a hotel should not cost a bomb, right? So at an average price point of about 2,000 rupees, we offer our guests tremendous value for money, which comprises, a clean and comfortable room, everything ranging from the bathroom, which is very important, the linen, which is very important, in terms of providing them a good sumptuous breakfast, in terms of providing internet connectivity, in terms of providing a friendly and prompt service, none of which you would typically expect or get at a standalone, unorganized hotel, a mom and pop hotel, so far, is what we are changing completely. And the economics allow you to do that. It's not like there are economic constraints in you getting a good experience at 2,000 rupees. It's just that the way this industry has been, it's been extremely fragmented, extremely unorganized. And that's why consumers have not had access to that kind of service. So we are using a lot of technology, a lot of operating model innovations to just completely change how these hotels operate. And that's what's allowing us to offer these value propositions to our guests.
So what do you think is going right for you? I mean, how is the discovery process happening? And in terms of transaction, where all are you present right now? Tell us more.
So first of all, in terms of where we are present, like I said, we are present in 40 cities across the country, which includes a mix of, all metros, tier 1, tier 2 cities. We are present in very small cities as well, as small as, let's say, Kolhapur, Nashik. We are present in those kind of places. We are present in small tourist destinations as well, the likes of, of course, Nainital, Shimla, Manali, Ooty, Kodaikanal. Those are the kind of places we are present at. So it's a fairly even mix and a lot of variety in our portfolio. I think what is working for us is, like I said, our ability to completely change the way hotels function. So, for example, traditionally, hotels have been known to be places which cannot afford, let's say, budget hotels in particular, they can't afford expensive manpower and excessive manpower. Unlike a Hyatt Regency where, the moment you walk in, there's an army of people just waiting to wish you good evening, right? But that can't be possible in budget hotels. So what we do is we use a lot of technology to replace these interactions, to hardwire tasks such that there are fewer errors. There are absolutely no errors in the experience that a consumer gets. There are, things get done quickly and more efficiently.
Right.
So, imagine a scenario where earlier, where today, these days you would, if you're traveling on a flight, if you're watching a movie, you would web check in, right? You would select your seats, you would web check in, and you would just walk through the gates.
Sure.
Whereas that kind of experience has not been made available at hotels yet. Why Treebo, the name? Yeah. So Treebo is actually a play on the word Bo tree. Bo tree was the name of, as most of you would know, was the name of the tree under which Gautam Buddha meditated. It was a fig tree, coming from banyan trees. That family of trees was actually an inspiration for us. We thought that those were the earliest form of the ancient form of hotels, budget hotels. Travelers would rest under their canopies. They would not discriminate between the rich and the poor. Interesting conversations would happen over there, and they would spread out over a large area. All of these are characteristics that Treebo as a hotel chain stands for as well.
Cool.
So yeah, we found inspiration in that.
I like the word Mojo, I think, from InstaMojo. There's not a lot of thought there in why the name came up, but I think how, just the whole rental is being translated into a magic. So that's how we have been.
And it's a very
It was a
interesting-
catchy name, so we just went for it.
No, the reason is that you are completely creating a new market which
Right.
didn't exist before. How did you even arrive at something like this? That you had the vision to start something like this.
So, prior to this, I was heading the private label arm of the business at Pepperfry. I was managing the whole P&L. And I've had smaller stints at the e-commerce companies like Flipkart earlier, back in the days of 2011. So right from those days, what I realized was a consumer like me was not so much of a part of e-commerce when it comes to large appliances or furniture or so on and so forth. But interestingly, what happened was I was selling furniture at Pepperfry and I was renting it out at the same time from a local guy. And when I looked at the dynamics of a product which I was selling in the market for, let's say, at $10,000, I was able to rent it out at 400 rupees a month.
No, it makes perfect sense.
I was amazed. My payback period was close to about 20 months. It was a win-win situation because I was just getting into a rental apartment and so on and so forth. And I just felt it's a very beautiful proposition. But the one thing that really clicked from a business point of view was that same 10,000 product in the market, I was buying at a very cheap cost because I had the economies of scale. So I can potentially eliminate that margin and give back those benefits to the user in terms of small affordable rentals. And you won't believe, for us, if I was owning the asset on my books, my payback period was almost as half compared to the consumer. So that was the whole seed, and that's when we started off. And I think that was the immature thought that we started off. But slowly and gradually now, as we talk today, I think we're solving a much bigger problem in India. We are close to about a 1.3 billion population, around 700 bank accounts, 450 million
What's the popular
folks.
category that people come to you for, to RentoMojo for?
It's potentially the bedroom or TV, fridge, washing machine.
Considering you don't have a fashion kind of a background, I know, you had your for co-founders talk earlier on. Tell us about your journey in terms of identifying FabAlley and what was the sort of vision to start FabAlley. And then I know you're also into your online and offline model.
Yeah.
Is it something that's unique to India? It's more a necessity than going purely online as such?
We were both, when we started about 4 years back, we were both 25-year-olds working in the corporate sector in Mumbai and Bangalore respectively. And we felt that for women, in their 20s, earning, a certain, say a middle to upper class woman, there weren't too many brands available at that point of time in India. And we mean online and offline both. So there were a few international brands, who were globally, kind of global brands, trendy, fashion forward, but not really affordable. So when you look at a middle class girl, sitting even besides metro, say sitting in Hyderabad, Pune, so on and so forth, trying to go and buy a top for about 1500, there was nothing that existed in that range. So that's how the conversation started. We're our own consumers. So both of us started talking that, why are there no brands? Why is there such a big demand? Why is it that no Western wear brand in India has been ever kind of emerged as a large or as a leader in this segment? So after a lot of market research, talking to a lot of women in our age group, we realized that there was a big gap in this segment, and that's how we decided to come in and start a Western wear brand.
I would imagine it's quite a tough segment to crack in. One is like changing the user behavior. Of course, it's also you had highly funded companies in this space.
Yeah.
How difficult, or what did you see as an opportunity that you thought you could crack open the market? Okay.
Sure. So I think the key differentiator for any fashion brand is the product. And we felt that there was, and that time and even today, there weren't too many products that were fashion forward and affordable. That's all. So with these two things, we started our journey. And we said that we're going to be the only rapid fashion brand in this country, churning out about 300 styles every month. So every day, if a customer goes on our website, they see new products. They see something they've not seen before, and hence our repeat rates are very, very high. With respect to competition, so competition for us is online, offline, the next door boutique, pretty much everybody in that segment. Given the market is large, and given the fact that if you can differentiate products and make it available at a good price point, there's a big market that exists. And that's what we went after, and that's the kind of target market that we would want to go after for the next 5 to 10 years.
So typically what age group is your ideal sort of a customer?
Yeah, so we target the average age would be about between 24 and 27, but typically 20 to 30 is the broad age range of our customer.
I know a lot of people here in this country have not got into alternative assets or even thought about looking at beyond FD, etc., investing in mutual funds, etc. What did you see? What did you saw as an opportunity so many years back, and how has that journey come up, till today?
So when we started, we were always traders to begin with. So I think I started it around the age of 16 or 17, which is really early. And as a trader, the costs around us in the market were extremely high. So for a trader to make money, if I have to buy something for say 100 rupees and sell it for 100 rupees, I needed 2 points just to break even. This was like maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, or somewhere about that. What we tried to do is take away those 2 rupees from the market and allow people to trade at a much lower fee. And that's how discount broking model began for us.
Today you have what, 1.2 lakh users?
Today we have over 2 lakh users, but the way we look at it, India as a market has very little penetration into the financial space. We think less than 5% of Indians have any kind of access to stock markets. So even though we do have 2 lakh users, we're still growing at over 100% a year. And we believe with all that is happening around us right now, demonetization, Modi and everything, the number of users and the penetration will go up at an exponential pace going forward.
So what are you doing to ensure that happens, and what are your sort of challenges in ensuring so?
I think the challenges are simplifying the space for people. I think stock markets as an asset class is overly complicated. It does not need to be. So I think people look at stock market and they're averse to trying it out because they think it involves complication, huge fees and stuff like that. We're trying to simplify it for the common man. For new people entering the market, we want to make the whole experience so much simpler. So the next class of people who come in do not face the issues that we did when we came in.
Now, I see 2 challenges personally from my perspective. One is in terms of English as a language, to use and to go on board and look at the stocks and, whatever you want to do. The other bit is in terms of how do you keep the engagement level high? Because not everybody from your 2 lakh users is an active trader on an everyday basis. So for you, part of your, I think, business model is also to ensure that people come regularly and trade actively.
I think what happens is because our costs are so low, people stay profitable for longer. People don't burn out as quickly as they did, maybe with a brokerage which charges maybe 2 times or 3 times as much. As far as the language bit goes, what we have done is we've introduced a trading platform in most regional languages. So if you do not know English, you could log on to a trading platform and say Bengali or Hindi or any of these languages, and you could still trade.
So who among that segment is the highest?
I think Gujaratis are quite high.
Okay.
I mean, traditionally
Okay.
Gujaratis are smart
Savvy.
people. Yeah,
Yeah.
they are savvy.
Yeah.
I think, strangely enough, people from Kerala, Malayalis, the Gulf money makes a big contribution as well.
I see. And do you see a difference in the age group of people who are part of your customer base?
Our customer base is internet savvy. It's the new age, people with access to smartphones. So our customer base is people starting all the way from say 22 to maybe 40. The major chunk of our customer base lies there.
So in terms of a product roadmap and vision, what do you have in future for us?
I think we're at the cusp of opening up in market which has traditionally been feared. So I think the 5% or 7% penetration we are at right now will probably move into 20-30% over the next 2 or 3 years. We're trying to place ourselves in such a space that when this does happen, we're at the forefront and we get most of that business.
My earlier part, I was asking about the online and the offline bit, all right? So is this an industry sort of, because you look at furniture companies, they have a high street store.
Sure.
So there is a clash of the online and the offline world. Even the traditional offline stores are going online. So what does it mean for you and how has it worked for you?
Sure. So for us at FabAlley, we feel, if you have a good brand and a good product, the rest, whether it's online or offline, is distribution, right? So we started off as an online brand because we wanted to reach out to many women. We wanted to be affordable, so on and so forth. But now to expand, given 98% of Western wear or shopping is still done offline, especially in the women's wear segment. We believe that offline is also something that we will be looking at in a large way. So we have about 30 shop-in-shops offline with, in cities like Patna, Surat, Mohali, so on and so forth. And a lot of those are doing, say, better than shop-in-shops in cities like Mumbai and Delhi. So there is a lot of demand in these cities. There are a lot of women going to offline stores as well, which is why we believe that online and offline will both exist. It will coexist, and all fashion brands, whether they were offline and now they moved online, or whether they were online and now are moving offline, it was just the first touch point or first, it was just a beginning. And after that, all brands will be online and offline, especially in the fashion segment.
There was this narrative for a very long time saying that people don't want to do an online purchase because you really can't gauge the quality. Yeah. And then people started investing in a lot of, high quality photographs and stuff like that. Particularly for a fashion brand where the image and its kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
How have you sort of overcome those kind of challenges, with the use of technology particularly?
Yes. Sure. So for 2 or 3 key things. One is for the look of the product to ensure that the customer actually knows how it will fit the body. We do things like there are multiple angles for every product. So from a very, very detailed product close-up to things like how the buttons are, where the zips are, very minute details. We take images of that. That's something which the customers can see. There are ramp walks which are done for certain products so that, again, the customers know how the products will kind of fall when you're walking. So those are something that we've done. With respect to sizing, that is the biggest challenge in the e-commerce industry when it comes to fashion, because a lot of people don't know their exact sizes right now.
Yeah.
So which is why, so that continues to be a challenge. But things like detailed sizing charts, body fits where the customer can actually give their measurements, and we recommend that, if you are, say, XYZ in terms of your measurements, what size would we recommend to you? So those are some kind of thing that we have incorporated on our website, and we've seen the returns go down over time. But that still continues to be a challenge for the industry, and even internationally, sizing continues to kind of be the biggest challenge. So we will get around that, but it's definitely improving in India.
So a lot of churn because of that, a lot of returns.
Yeah. So sizing is probably contributes to about 60%. That's the key reason for returns. And the good thing is that a lot of those returns are not refunds, which means the customer says that size small did not fit me, so why don't you exchange it for a medium? So for us, that's an additional that's an additional logistics cost, but that's about it. So it's not an order cancelled or a customer lost technically. It's just a back and forth that happens with the customer. So which is why but besides sizing, quality or did not like the product, that's very, very less.
Stuff that you're doing with RentoMojo, I'm sure people would have asked you this question, at least your investors, in terms of, I come once and I sort of rent a sofa or a bed or whatever I need for my appliance. what have you been doing in terms of delivering a customer experience so that you capture a larger share of wallet, so to speak?
I think we are one of those companies, post the transaction, we have the user for longer months. Like a typical consumer with us is transacting or subscribing with us for the next 14 months. So that's a higher time frame that we need to hold his experience somewhere. So one of the things that we do, experience is more sort of a product itself. So whenever he wants to communicate, whatever interaction he wants to have, he should land on the product and he should be able to, get his resolution at the end of the day. So right from selecting of the furniture to taking care of the returns, to his whole experience regarding the pricing. That as he commits longer, he keeps on getting a better pricing as he goes longer tenures. So all those constitutes a unique kind of experience with us.
So in terms of your own vision and your journey right now, where do you see sort of RentoMojo in the next 12, 24 months or so, and what are the sort of challenges that you foresee in your journey?
That's what I was trying to say before, that, what we have realized is India is a very income-constrained economy, and, the large chunk doesn't have an access to a good lifestyle. So what we are creating is a beautiful financing solution, which is actually cheaper than the usual traditional forms of buying. And it's more convenient than the traditional forms of buying also. What we essentially are trying to do is challenge ownership in itself. We ask around that, what's the definition of ownership for you? And I very frankly, for some it's the experience of buying, but for many it's just the invoice. I'm paying for it. But essentially for us, it's just the usability. I can buy something for 10,000, I can scrap it off at 2,000, and I can use it for 12 months. Essentially, I've spent 1,400 a month to use it. And that's the thing that we want to create. I think we are the evangelists of subscription commerce. We see a future in which a certain consumer will, let's say, pay around $5,000, $10,000 out of his monthly income, and he'll have access to all the products that constitutes his lifestyle. You can just plug in, choose and pick and choose the things that constitutes your lifestyle. Furniture, appliances, bikes, cars, other things.
Given you standardizing this experience and standardizing, a budget room or a hotel, how do you use data or technology, or I'm sure that must be a key part of what you're trying to do as well. Okay, so tell us more about the inside works of what's going on, Treebo.
See, we often call ourselves a digital hotel chain, and to borrow Steve Jobs' words, we also say that we work with the heart of a hotelier and the mind of an engineer. And indeed, data and technology are deeply embedded in everything that we do. Let me give two specific examples of how we use data and analytics. The first is in terms of revenue generation, demand generation, because that's an important activity for us to add value to our partners. What we are able to do using data is that, sitting today, I'm able to forecast, let's say, what would our occupancies of each of our individual properties look like 20 days out, 30 days out. Because we have looked at a lot of demand patterns from the past, we have looked at a lot of seasonality factors, we have looked at a lot of channel mix factors, and we are able to forecast what our business book would look like 20 days out. And on the basis of that, we are able to tweak our pricing and tweak our channel mix in a manner that we maximize business on any given day, right? So that is one way for us to use data to maximize revenues. And that is, by the way, the reason why, while the rest of the country, the average occupancy of hotels in our segment is usually around 50%, 45 to 50%, and I'm talking about the year-long average occupancy, we operate in the 70 to 80% range because we are able to put data to good use. The second example is on the operations side, where what we have done is using technology and data, we have quantified quality. So every single element, every single amenity that you see in a hotel is actually a data point for us. And that is used to populate metrics. For example, we have a metric called compliance. And we know that every single one of our properties, to what extent is it in compliance with the standards that we have laid out? So is it a 95% compliance property, or is it a 78% compliance property? And that allows us to, then do predictive analytics, figure out which which quality flaw is more likely to arise at property A versus at property B, and take preventive actions such that those quality gaps don't interfere with guest experience. So indeed, this is part of the whole reimagination of hotels, and yeah, data and analytics are absolutely crucial in managing a network of this size.
But are you trying out some stuff in terms of your operation, or like you mentioned, be it in data or analytics or technology itself, besides what people have been doing in terms of childbirth? Are you doing anything differently? Can you share?
We are also, given our speciality, we actually have a specific window of operation, which is 0th month when a lady gets pregnant and the 9th month when the baby comes out. So this is a very unique proposition. So we use technology a whole lot in terms of how do we engage with our customers. So there are two
what's
parts.
the engagement time for
9 months.
All throughout the 9 months?
Yeah,
okay.
all through the 9 months, depending on where the couple comes and gets registered. But there are two parts to it. How does a customer find out about us? Which is, we're very strong on digital. If you look at, again, the kind of speciality we're in, the referenceability is very high because you've had a baby, you can't hide the fact, people will ask you. So,
okay.
True to that fact, in mediums like Facebook, we already have about 1.2 million followers. So all of this is very, very easily referenceable. So we use a lot of inputs, lot of different activities that we actually do digitally to onboard customers onto this. Once they come in, we've had a ton of things that work very differently with us. We've actually invested in a lot of mechanisms. A lot of things are under pilot. We work with unknown startups. We work with large conglomerates like Microsoft. We've invested in a whole lot of technology in this. So much like what he was saying, in healthcare, the problem is being able to generate data. So we can do whatever, but if the doctor is not going to input the data, it's a huge challenge. In just last 2 years, the kind of data that India has generated as healthcare has actually doubled. But the problem is about 80% of it is unstructured, which means we have to invest in sort of cognitive analytics and all of that to actually read into the kind of data which is being generated. So there is a lot of work which is happening, and it all ultimately leads into how a consumer actually gets the service. So from the time someone walks into a Cloudnine unit, they'll actually be welcome on their phone, and they actually know how much time do they have to wait to meet the doctor. Can they actually do something else during that time? Is there something during the 9-month journey that they've missed out that they can actually register for? There's a whole lot of things which is actually automatic. And like he was also saying, for us, occupancy is critical. We can't, again, babies happen at will. So we can't just say that, everything is clockwork and we operate at 70%. No, for us, 70% is still a circus show. So we have to be ultra efficient in terms of how we conduct operations. So we invest a whole lot on technology and use them.
So what is it you consumer, a typical consumer for you, can expect rather than going into any other normal hospital, but coming to a specialty place like Cloudnine? Broadly, what all the sort of things that one can expect or should expect?
Oh, from one, we actually start from the time that someone is actually looking for medical help in actually being able to start a family on the fertility side, to actually when they do get pregnant, and the entire journey from there on, with which includes all the consultations with the doctors, all the medical interventions in terms of lab investigations, to the ultrasonography, to all the celebration stuff. So we actually help them conduct baby showers. We actually, do workshops of fathers, because I'm a father. I'm like really lost in terms. How do you actually bring up a kid? I think it comes very naturally to women. So we actually have classes, and strangely, so we've actually called it MBA. It's called Management of Baby Affairs.
Okay.
So we actually do a whole lot of this, and strangely enough, a lot of these requests actually come from customers themselves, saying, we don't know how to deal with this. What do we do about it? So we're an ardent listener about what our consumers have to say, and the entire experience is woven into it. So from actually having to deliver the baby, and even if there's a complication, we have the highest number of intensive care beds under management. So it's a one-stop shop for all your pregnancy needs. You get pregnant, you go out with the baby in your hands. That's about it.
Okay, thanks, fantastic.